Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Chill English Channel, the place where learning English feels calm, simple, and completely practical for real life. I'm Sophia, and I'm really glad you've decided to spend some time with us today. Whether you're listening on your commute, during a break, or just relaxing at home, we hope this episode is useful for you.
And I'm Jake. It's genuinely wonderful to have you here with us again. We always enjoy making these episodes, and we especially enjoy knowing that people all over the world are listening and improving their English alongside us. So welcome. Let's have a great session together.
Jake, today's topic is one that every English learner will eventually face, no matter what level they're at. It doesn't matter if you've been studying English for 2 months or 10 years. This is something that trips up almost everyone at some point. And once you understand it, it makes such a big difference.
Absolutely. This is one of those topics that can instantly change how natural and confident your English sounds to the people around you. A lot of learners focus on grammar and vocabulary, which are important, of course, but they sometimes miss this layer of English that is just as crucial: knowing how to match your language to the situation.
Exactly. Today we're going to talk about professional English versus casual English, what the difference is, why it matters, and most importantly, how to move naturally between the two in real-life situations. By the end of this episode, you'll have a much clearer picture of when to use which style, and you'll feel a lot more confident doing it.
Many learners don't realize that English isn't always the same in every situation. The way we speak actually shifts quite a lot depending on who we're talking to, where we are, and what the purpose of the conversation is. You wouldn't use the same language at a job interview that you'd use chatting with a friend over lunch. And understanding that is a really big step forward in your English journey.
That's so true. The way you talk to your best friend is completely different from the way you'd speak to your boss, a new client, or a professor. And if you mix the two up, it can sometimes sound a little strange, or even come across as impolite or unprofessional, even if that wasn't your intention at all. The good news is, this isn't about being a different person in different situations. It's just about using the right tools at the right time.
And here's something really encouraging. Once this concept is explained clearly, it's actually very easy to understand. It just takes a little awareness and some practice. You don't need to memorize hundreds of new words or learn complicated grammar rules. You just need to train your ear and your instinct for what sounds right in each situation.
And that's exactly what we're going to help you do today. With clear explanations, real examples, and practical comparisons you can start applying right away. We're going to take this step by step, so don't worry if it feels like a lot at first. By the end, it will all make sense. So let's get into it.
All right, let's start at the beginning and make sure we have a solid understanding of what we actually mean when we say professional English. It's a term you've probably heard before, but let's define it clearly. Sophia, how would you describe it?
Great question. Professional English is the type of English we use in formal or work-related situations. Think of it as the English you'd use during a job interview, in a business meeting, in a formal email to a manager or client, or when speaking to someone you don't know very well in an official setting. It's the version of English where you're very aware of how you come across and you want to sound competent, polished, and respectful.
So it's more carefully structured, more deliberate in word choice, and generally more polite in tone. You're paying more attention to the impression you're making, and you're choosing your words with that in mind. It's not that you're being fake or stiff, you're just being more intentional about how you communicate in a context that calls for it.
Exactly. The tone is respectful and controlled. You tend to use full, complete sentences. You avoid slang, contractions in writing, or very informal expressions. The goal is to come across as clear, competent, and considerate. Someone who takes communication seriously and treats the other person with a high level of respect. And what about casual English? That's the other side of the coin, and it's just as important to understand. We spend a lot of our daily lives in casual situations, so this style of English is something you'll use constantly.
Casual English is essentially the opposite of professional English in feel and structure. It's the kind of English we use with friends, family, close colleagues, or anyone we feel genuinely comfortable around. It's relaxed, natural, and spontaneous. You're not thinking carefully about every word. You're just talking, and the conversation flows easily and freely.
So, if professional English is like wearing a well-pressed suit to a formal business meeting, casual English is like putting on your favorite comfortable clothes at home on a Sunday. Both are completely appropriate. They just belong in different settings. And trying to wear the suit on a relaxed Sunday at home would feel just as awkward as showing up to a job interview in casual clothes.
Now let's make all of this really concrete by looking at some real examples. Nothing helps understanding like hearing the actual words. So let's compare the two styles side by side across a few common everyday situations.
Definitely. Let's start with one of the most common questions in the English language, one you'll hear and use every single day in some form. How are you? It's a simple greeting, but the way you respond to it says a lot about the register you're in.
Okay, so let's set the scene. You're walking down the street and you run into a close friend you haven't seen in a while. They smile and say, "Hey, how are you?" What do you say? In casual English, you'd probably respond with something like, "I'm good, thanks," or "Pretty great, actually." Or maybe something even shorter like, "Good, you?" or "Not bad." It's quick, warm, and totally natural.
You'd probably say something like, I'm good, or I'm great, thanks. Or sometimes even shorter. Good, you? Or not bad, not bad. The response is brief, friendly, and the important thing isn't the words, it's the warmth and connection behind them. You're not composing a formal statement. You're just making easy, natural contact with someone you care about.
Right. There's no need to be formal with a close friend. And in fact, being overly formal in that situation would feel cold and a bit strange. But now let's flip the scenario. Imagine you're walking into a job interview or you're meeting a new client for the first time and they ask the same question. How are you? The response needs to be different. Not because the question is different, but because the situation is different.
In that professional context, you'd want to give a response that sounds a little more polished and complete. Something like, I'm doing very well, thank you. And yourself? Or, I'm doing great, thank you for asking. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a small adjustment in wording, but it signals that you understand the formality of the setting, and you're showing respect for the other person and the occasion.
And that small difference really does affect how the other person perceives you. In a professional context, the more composed and complete your responses sound, the more confident, prepared, and respectful you appear. It's not about showing off. It's about meeting the moment with the right energy.
Now let's try another example. Imagine you've had a really long, exhausting day, and someone asks how you're doing. You want to describe how tired you feel. Let's hear how that sounds in both styles.
In casual English, you'd probably just say, "I'm so tired." Or maybe something a bit more expressive, like, "I'm absolutely exhausted," or "I'm completely wiped out," or even, "I'm dead on my feet." Those are all very natural and real-sounding ways to express genuine exhaustion among friends, and they communicate exactly how you feel without any filter.
But in a professional setting, say you're at work and a colleague or manager asks how your day is going, you'd soften it and make it sound a bit more controlled. You might say, I'm feeling a bit tired today, or it's been quite a busy day, or I've had a full schedule today, but I'm managing well. The meaning is essentially the same, but the expression is more appropriate for a work context.
Right. You wouldn't walk into a team meeting and announce, I'm completely dead today, I can barely function. That would sound too casual and might not leave the most professional impression, even if everyone in the room completely understands the feeling. Professionalism is partly about managing how you present yourself, and language is a big part of that.
Exactly. Same emotion, different expression. And that's actually one of the core ideas we want you to hold on to throughout this entire episode. The meaning doesn't change. What changes is the level of formality, the structure of the sentence, and the vocabulary you choose. Once you get that, the rest becomes much easier.
Now let's look at another very common and important situation, asking someone for help. We all need help from other people constantly, at work, in daily life, with strangers, and the way you ask makes a
This is something we do constantly in everyday life, so knowing both versions is really practical. In casual English, with a friend or close coworker, you might say something like, "Can you help me with this?" Or even just, "Hey, help me out." Very short, very direct. And between people who know each other well, that directness is completely fine. It actually sounds natural and comfortable.
But in a professional context, that same directness can sometimes come across as a little abrupt or even demanding, even if you don't mean it that way. So instead, you'd phrase it more politely. Could you please help me with this when you have a moment? Or, would you mind assisting me with this? Those small additions, could, please, when you have a moment, transform the request from a command into a courteous ask.
That's such an important point, and it's worth pausing on for a second. Those words, could, would, may, and might, are called modal verbs, and they are incredibly powerful tools in professional English. When you swap can you for could you, or I want for I would like, you instantly make your language sound more polished and respectful. It's a simple change with a big impact.
Think of it this way. Give me the report. Sounds like a command. Could you please send me the report when you get a chance? Sounds like a thoughtful, respectful request from a professional colleague. The underlying need is exactly the same. You want the report, but the way you express it creates a completely different impression and a very different feeling for the person receiving it.
Let's do one more example in this section before we go deeper. Imagine you need directions from a stranger on the street. In casual speech, you might walk up and say, "Hey, where's the train station?" It's direct, quick, and totally normal in an everyday context. Most people would happily answer without any issue.
Very natural, very normal. And in most casual settings, that's completely fine. But if you want to sound more polite, especially in a formal context, or when approaching someone who seems busy, or in a country where more formal speech is expected, you'd phrase it quite differently. Excuse me, could you tell me where the train station is, please? Or, I'm sorry to bother you, but would you be able to point me in the right direction toward the station? Both of those feel much more considerate and respectful.
Notice how the meaning is exactly the same in both cases. You need to find the train station. That hasn't changed. But the second version shows consideration for the other person's time, acknowledges that you're interrupting them, and communicates that you're aware of social courtesy. That's exactly the kind of awareness that makes professional English so effective.
And that, in a nutshell, captures the essential difference between casual and professional English. Now let's go even deeper and explore how these two styles play out in more complex situations that you're very likely to encounter in your everyday life and at work.
All right, now that we've built a strong foundation, let's look at some more detailed situations where professional and casual English really show their differences, and where learners often feel the most uncertain about which style to use. These are situations that come up regularly, so paying attention here will have a direct impact on your daily English.
One of the most important areas is workplace communication in general. Whether you're sending a quick message to a colleague, writing a formal email to your manager, or speaking up in a team meeting, getting the right tone is really, really important. It affects how people perceive you professionally and can even influence your relationships at work over time. Let's start with a simple workplace situation you've probably been in before. You need a file from a coworker. You know them fairly well. You see them every day, you have lunch together sometimes. In casual English, you'd probably just say, "Hey, can you send me that file?" Short, simple, friendly. And in that kind of relationship, that's completely fine. But now imagine the same need, but this time you're asking your manager or someone from a different team you don't know well, or a client you work with externally. The request needs to change. You'd say something like, "Could you please send me the file when you have a moment?" Or, "When you get a chance, would you be able to share that document with me? I'd really appreciate it." Both sound professional, respectful, and considerate of the other person's time.
It's worth noticing how professional English often adds words that casual English leaves out. Words like please, when you have a moment, I'd appreciate it, and thank you in advance. These additions aren't just politeness formulas. They show that you're thinking about the other person, not just your own need. That awareness is something people notice and